That's right. This is Bad Weather Fans, episode number 32 with Mike and Alex. And as you can see, if you're watching this via YouTube, we have a special guest on the line today. That is I will say, the second biggest Net fan in this room, which is up for debate. I guess we can get into that.
BS.
Evan Roberts, host on WFAN Afternoons, Joe and Evan and Joe. And Evan, thanks for coming on Bad Weather Fans to talk a little Nets-Knicks. This is the first Nets guest that has been on this podcast.
Here's my proof that I'm a bigger Net fan than you.
Let's go.
The first thing I thought about when you said episode 32 was what?
Dr. J.
Yeah, all right.
Easy.
Yes, that is what I thought about. All right.
It took too long, Mike, to answer that. It took too long.
If we want to, Alex, if you're cool with this, we could just do an hour and I'll say net jersey numbers and we'll go back and forth. Number three. You know that.
Todd McCullough. Who's that? What number was that?
Todd McCullough was 11?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. I just named a random net.
Well, Evan, thank you for hopping on with us today. We'll talk a little Nets, little Knicks. We'll get to the poll question at the end of the episode. So it's kind of this in-between grace period now as we get ready for the Nets season. Do you think we'll ever see Kevin Durant?
I got to tell you, there's never been anything like this on a lot of levels. But when you sign a big-time free agent, like when the Yankees signed Garrett Cole, very, very exciting. They had to wait a few months. You know, they got to see him in spring training. They had to wait a few more months, but then they got him. We are going to wait a year and a half before we see the most significant free agent signing in my sports fandom and your sports fandom. So I definitely understand the kind of the idea of, are we ever going to see him? Because it's been so long, you wonder what's going to happen next that's going to lead us to not seeing Kevin Durant as a Brooklyn Net.
That's true. I think the bigger question is also, are you ever going to see Kyrie again? That's another question that you might need to ask.
Listen, right now, you got me on a day in which I like Kyrie. And I think Biseglia would agree with me on this. Kyrie Irving, there are many things to not trust about him. There are many things to not like about him. I think those are all fair. But when he is as passionate about the history of the Nets as he is, that warms your heart. Because as a sports fan, like think about this as a Knicks fan. Guy comes to the Knicks and talks all about like the teams you loved growing up.
Right.
That means something to you. You know, Melo did that actually very well too. Like it kind of warms the heartstrings, especially the Nets, because everybody mocks our history. And here's a guy saying, bring back the jerseys from New Jersey. Jason Kidd, I want to be just like him. So look, Kyrie will probably get hurt. He'll drive me nuts. He'll, tick off Steve Nash. He's going to want to coach on Wednesdays. I get all that. You don't even have to tell me. I understand. But on this day, I feel very good about Kyrie because he is showing love for the history of this franchise, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, it is cool to see that, and those are, and what weirded me out, Evan, and I was thinking about this, I was like, so he's talking about those Jason Kidd teams, and he was like in the 4th grade or something. I'm just like, oh my God, like forget how young
we're
people
old,
are.
right?
I was a senior in high school, and I remember that finals team so well because 18, 19
like 5
years
years
old or
old.
whatever. But I'm like, Kyrie's like, what is it, 11 years old? And that was the team that you got him impressed and everything. It was kind of weird to think about.
Well, it actually makes it make more sense because if he was growing up in the mid-90s, I don't know if he'd be a Nets fan.
That's fair.
He would have been like, Patrick Ewing's my guy. The Oak Man's my guy.
Yeah,
so luckily he grew up at the exact right time when the Nets were an incredibly exciting team,
Well, that's the thing. We were talking before. We're from the same hometown. I don't know how you grew up a Nets fan going to, living in the era because all you knew were Knicks fans or Bulls fans. All the Bulls fans disappeared magically. Sure. I don't know how that happened, but like all the Knicks fans, it was wall-to-wall Knicks fans.
Yes.
I never met a Nets fan until like after college. So I got to be honest with you. I don't know how did that happen? I know your dad would like them, but like that must be tough.
My dad's a weird story though, because like he loved the New York Nets when they played on Long Island, but he was betrayed by them because he had season tickets. They were selling Dr. J in the NBA. Come see Dr. J in the NBA. And spoiler alert, Dr. J didn't play in the NBA with the Nets. They sold him right before the season. So he got very turned off to the game of basketball because of it. So he became mostly just a Met fan and a Jet fan. But he used to tell me about the history. And, being from Long Island, I appreciated that. And, this is kind of an answer you'll like as a Knicks fan. But what it also came down to is when my dad was going to take me to a basketball game, it was just much easier to go to New Jersey and get tickets than it was to go to Madison Square Garden. And for me, I think the combination of getting to see them live, being different. I mean, I rooted. Think about it. My other teams at this point as a young kid were the Mets and the Jets. I was the underdog. So that was who I was. Like to be the Knicks fan didn't make a lot of sense. So it just kind of fit. And then, but you're right. Like growing up on Long Island, there were more Bulls fans than Nets. I mean, it was Bulls and Knicks. And I don't even know if there was another Net fan in my entire school. It was a weird existence, but things turned obviously a little bit when they were good. Like I think in the early 2000s, there were a few more front runners that said, "Hey, they're exciting. I like them."
Yeah, I mean, me and Mike talk about this all the time on the show. Where I actually liked watching the Jason Kidd Nets. Richard Jefferson and Kenyon Martin, and it was good basketball because I hated the Knicks just as much as you guys did back then because I like the Stephon Marbury, and it was just like there was no pride in being a Knicks fan. Like right now, I feel like they're doing the right thing. They're taking the right steps. They're set up in the right way. They're going to do something stupid right now, like trade everything for Chris Paul. I know that's coming, but like they're doing everything that they can right now. And my question for you is, what do you think the Knicks are going to do this offseason? I don't think that Chris Paul's the right move. Russell Westbrook, maybe depending on the deal, but like I don't know what's your thoughts? Is my opinion.
Well, first of all, I agree with you. I think they've got to go slow. They've got to go smart, and they've got to be patient. Like that in a way, kind of like what the Nets did. I know they ended up with Durant and Irving, but that happened after they were slow and patient. But they were forced to be because they didn't have any picks. What are they going to do is the $1 million question, because I think Leon Rose, to his credit, has done a pretty good job of not really leaking everything out. We hear this idea of, they may go after Chris Paul. They may go after Russell Westbrook. We really don't know. Like, we don't really know truly what he's thinking. If they do that, if they trade for Russell Westbrook, it's a colossal mistake. And I think most people recognize that. So right now, Leon Rose is in that period where we don't know, and that's a good thing. Like, he's kind of on the side of, you're cautiously optimistic as a Knicks fan. But if he shows signs of past regimes, it would be a colossal mistake because they're going to have the flexibility moving forward. They've actually got a lot of draft assets. They are set up so well to rebuild this thing the right way, and it would be flat out stupid if they go in a different direction. But as far as what I think they're going to do, I don't know, man. I want to give Leon Rose the benefit of the doubt. I don't think he's an idiot, but certainly as a Knicks fan, the track record is, they'll do something dumb. So it'll be very interesting to see what his philosophy is.
And I think what Alex said before is interesting. Getting back to talking about how he liked those Nets teams, saying, I like Jason Kidd. I like Kenyon. I liked RJ. I like Carey. I like those Nets teams. To now,
I didn't like them like that. Like, it wasn't that crazy.
Okay, I'm not going to go over the top, but the point I'm trying to make is, now if you ask that to like Knicks fans, then we're just like, the Nets, they're cute. They made the finals. Yay, let's watch that. It's good basketball. If you asked a Knicks fan about the Nets now and they did that, they wouldn't feel that same way. So in my mind, Evan, I think that means the Nets have actually, and I know we joke about how there's not many Net fans, but I think that shows that they have made a dent in the Knicks to piss them off a little bit.
Well, there's a few reasons for it. And I think it actually starts with Prokhorov, because when they first moved to Brooklyn, instead of, quietly coming into Brooklyn and saying, we're in Brooklyn now, we're in New York, they came in with freaking billboards saying, this is the whatever that stupid billboard said about
blueprint to success.
The blueprint for I try to forget about it, to be honest.
Yeah, it was a Jay-Z album, that's why.
Okay, see, what do I know? The Nets declared war. I mean, let's be honest. I remember after the Nets beat the Knicks at Barclays Center the first time, and Jay-Z was tweeting about, the city's under new management. So I think there was a very different kind of attempt at a rivalry coming from the Nets. And I mean, obviously what happened this offseason or this past two off seasons ago, I can't even remember anymore, of signing the guys that the Knicks wanted. And, Knicks fans could sit here and deny it all day. We didn't want Durant. He was hurt. Kyrie's crazy. We didn't want him. Listen, for 2 years, all they did was fantasize about these guys. And so the Nets stole their girlfriend. They stole their dream girl. They stole their lunch money. And so when you combine the fact that the Nets came into this town talking about taking over this town, and then you combine it with what they did during the summer of 19, I mean, it's very different, and it's understandable for the Knicks fan to hate us. It makes a lot of sense. I respect it.
Well, I hate it more from a trash talking perspective that that's kind of why I dislike the Nets, like you were saying, with when Prokhorov came in and came to Brooklyn and this and that. And then Kevin Durant, the second he went down, I tweeted out that I don't want him. So that's not me. Like, I was like, I don't want him all summer. I was like, I don't want him. I didn't want him. I didn't. Okay. I was actually celebrating. I was actually on a work trip in Montreal. I was in a hotel and I was getting ready to go to the gym. And it was like, I was like, all right, we have some time. It's like whatever time it was when the news broke. You probably know the exact time and date. And it was like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I get the alert. I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, yes. And people like turn around like, what the fuck? Like, and I was like, all right, let me go back to I'm like, I'm not going to work out right now. Like, I was like excited. I didn't want Durant. I wanted Kyrie. I'll admit that. I still wanted Kyrie, but I did not want Durant. Once he got hurt, I was like, I'm done. I'm like, I'm no thank you.
And you know what's funny, and Biseglia will admit it, me and him would talk after the Durant injury. We were both like, I don't know. And as the days marched closer, we both talked ourselves into why you got to do it. Like it became this, you got to do, the risk is so worth it, you know, despite the injury. You know, like, it's funny with the Knicks because I think most Knicks fans used it as a kind of an excuse. If we don't get him, okay, this is good. I'm not getting into your head. I'm sure that you genuinely didn't want him after the injury. I know that Beningo, my radio partner, didn't want him after the injury, like 100%, because he envisioned how bad it would go. Like, what are we going to do here? We're going to sign these guys, going to come back, will tear his Achilles first game in. And I understood it. And I will admit this, on the radio when analyzing this and trying to be as fair as I can, I know it's difficult sometimes. I didn't think he made sense for the Knicks after the injury. Like, so I do understand that, but you have to admit that most Knicks fans, maybe not yourself, they wanted him.
I was arguing with them all summer. Yeah, I was arguing with them all summer. I made like the Simpsons, like Bart Simpson, don't sign Durant, don't sign Durant, don't sign like those kind of things. And I'm sure that'd come back to bite me if Durant, like if he kills it with the Nets and you guys win a title. But I just didn't think it was the right time, like you were saying. The Knicks didn't have enough pieces around, and it would just be like, we'll have a hurt Durant, and like, what are we gonna do? And then he's gonna come back and he's gonna stink. And it just didn't work for me. That's all. I mean, Mike, I've told Mike these stories all the time. So
yeah, no, the timing wasn't there for the Knicks, but the timing was there for the Nets. So I completely understand that. And something that this is what Alex does, and this is what gets under my skin the most is so the Nets have a free agent right now. His name is Joe Harris, and the idea of Joe Harris in a Knicks jersey. Your thoughts on that feeling if he were ever to sign there? This is something I get trolled about all the time.
It's Kenny Atkinson and Joe Harris is what it was.
I mean, you know why I give you no reaction to it? Because it is not going to happen. Like, it's just not like that is a lame attempt at trolling because Joe Harris is not going to sign with the Knicks. I mean, I'm very confident he's going to re-sign with the Nets because the Nets can offer him the most money. Let's also be honest. But I just think for him, why would he go to the Knicks?
Right.
Like, it's not as if the Knicks are going to pay him more, right? So that's out the window. And I think role-wise, he wants to win. He was a part of this Nets rebuild. He was a part of this team when they basically gave him a shot after he was thrown out of Cleveland. Like, Joe Harris is going to stay. And if somehow he leaves, I think it would be more of a decision by the Nets, which will be stupid, by the way, and we will destroy Joseph Tsai for that decision because I think it'll come down to ownership. But a guy called in once and said that to me. Not even a troll, just as a Knicks fan, saying, hey, I'm interested in Joe Harris. What do you think? And I was like, you ain't getting him. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, great, you're interested in him. That's fine. So it doesn't bother me because it's not going to happen.
It's wild. It's wild to think that here's Joe Harris, who they signed and developed him, made him into an everyday player, could shoot threes. Then all of a sudden he became this guy that could drive to the hoop, the best finisher on the Nets.
I know.
I mean, which is crazy. And then to see that he's going to probably make $20 million like per year. I mean, he's going to make some serious dough from a guy that was making pennies from NBA standards.
And you go back with him to Virginia too, Mike. Sorry, Evan. Yeah, so that's pretty crazy. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's a great story. It shows you that, you know, we talk about lottery picks, we talk about guys coming in with hype, but if you work your ass off, look what you can become. And the Nets have a few of those guys. I think it's a part of the reason they were set up to sign Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie is another great example of it. So I'm happy for Joe Harris. I mean, he deserves every dime he gets. You know, guys are overpaid in the NBA, but, you know, where should the money go? Like, I don't necessarily want it in the owner's pockets unless it's coming back to us as fans. Give it to guys like Joe Harris who worked his ass off to become the player that he is. And he is very underrated because I think that most people stereotype him and just say, oh, yeah, he's a three-point shooter.
Of course.
Well, he is, but he's also a lot more than that. He's an incredibly valuable player. And watching him develop like we have as Net fans, it's fun. That's one of the fun things about being a sports fan is to watch a guy get better right in front of your eyes, and he has.
All right. Well, all this Nets talk is gonna be sick a little bit. So let's let me ask you a question about the Knicks. Like, let's say, so we talk about this all the time. Also, there's four guys like wing forwards, so to speak. Excuse me. You have Marcus Morris, you have Danilo Gallinari, Joe Harris, and you have Davis Bertans. Which one of the four do you think the Knicks should go after? That was one of our old poll questions.
Which one should they go at? Well, like, look, the should would be Joe Harris, but I don't think you're going to get him. I think Bertans is probably the more realistic option.
Ugh. Yeah.
Well, you didn't exactly give me amazing options here.
I know. I'm just throwing it out there. Go ahead. I can't stand him. Yeah, go ahead.
A part of
Yeah.
free agency and adding guys is not just who do I want, like whatever you like. You're ordering off a freaking menu. A lot of it is who can you realistically sign.
Yeah.
I am so fascinated though by this Knicks offseason because I don't know what their plan is. Like I have no idea what their thinking is. So I'm excited, and it's a weird timing too. I mean, we're gonna get the NBA offseason in the middle of December, so it's
we're gonna have the
crazy.
NBA draft around Thanksgiving. It's like the weirdest thing. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's really where it's gonna be interesting with the Knicks. Like I could see them trading back, which makes a lot of sense. I can see them trading up if they're really that in love with LaMelo Ball. They can get him for a reasonable price, and obviously they could sit where they are and just take best available. So. I'm actually excited for your offseason, I have to admit.
Yeah, it's been like 6 months in the making. Like it's been crazy. We get so tired of talking about the same thing. Like, are they going to trade up? Are they going to trade back? Oh, once the lottery hit, then it's just the same stories over and over. Who's the coach? What's the they have like 15 assistants somehow. I don't know how there's so many assistant coaches, but it just goes over and over. It's just the same crap over and over. But somehow we make it work. I don't know.
How do you think Tibbs will do?
Or Thibs?
One with them, or Tibbs or Thibs? I don't even know how to say it.
You know. My gut feeling is he is a good head coach. This team will be much better defensively, and they will be a competitive team. The problem where I always hesitate, and I'm sure you do too as a Knicks fan, is they've brought in good head coaches in the past. Like I'll never forget when Larry Brown came in, and I was like, you guys are going to be fine. He'll only be here for 2 years, but he'll get the best out of your team. And it was one of the worst Knicks teams I've ever seen. So. Look, I think on paper they made the right hire. I was fearful of Kenny Atkinson, but I think Kenny would have been a great hire too, based on all the development he did with the Nets. So I think if I had to guess and be fair and not base too much of it on Knicks history, because the truth is we probably shouldn't do that. We probably shouldn't sit there and talk about how bad things have been for 5 years and assume everything's going to suck. Because other than the owner, everything is different. I mean, there's a new GM, there's a new president, there's a new coach. You mentioned the coaching staff, and a lot of guys with great resumes. So if I had to guess, I mean, look, I don't think the Knicks are necessarily going to be a playoff team in year one, but I certainly think they'll be better coached than they were last year under Fizdale. He was a disaster, as we all know. And I think they'll be a more competitive team. And I think years from now, we'll look back at this hire and say it was a very good hire.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, hiring Tibbs, he wasn't my first choice. I wanted Kenny Atkinson or to keep, what's his name, the interim Miller.
You already forgot his name?
I already forgot his name. It's been 6 months since they played a game. I mean, I don't forgot his name. And I wanted either one because I wanted to keep the progression. I didn't want to put unreasonable expectations on the Knicks because now I know, I can already see the press clippings. Knicks pay this coach X amount of money, and this is the amount of game wins. I got to win 40-something games. It's just chill. This is not the year.
Can I ask you a question for you people as Knicks fans?
You people? Yes.
Yeah, you people as Knicks fans. Why are you so obsessed with what the media is going to write about you?
Because it's not fair. It's like the unfair weighted.
They suck.
Okay. So let's put it this way. I was very thankful that you said just now it's been 5 years. Okay, so you said the right thing. A lot of people will be like, the Knicks haven't been good in 20 years. It's like, yes, they have. You know what I mean? Like, yes, they have. They want to be fair. Yes, they have. So I can't even give you the line that I always give to Mike that, the Nets won their 42-game, 60 parade. They had a parade down Flatbush Avenue for that. Congratulations. And the Knicks do that for 3 years in a row, go to the playoffs, and people act like, oh, they haven't been good in 20 years. Just 20 years sounds so much better than 5. So, thank you for saying that. And that kind of stuff is just the unfair, weighted. And I get it. People hate Dolan. I get it. People hate the Knicks. I get it. It's a funny thing, but it's annoying. Okay, Mike and I talk about this all the time about the Jets. I welcome the Jets criticism. You know what I mean? As a Jets fan. So
let's meet in the middle. Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I agree that there are times, and I try to call it out too, even though I'm a Net fan, that the Knick beat writers or former Knick beat writers may be unfair to the Knicks. Like one example I've mentioned a few times on the air is how they talk about Porzingis. They almost anytime Porzingis played well, oh my God, that trade. Anytime he's hurt, it's like, oh yeah, Porzingis is hurt. Just let's report the information and just hide, as opposed to maybe a part of why the Knicks traded Porzingis, which I agreed with, by the way. I thought you guys, could you have gotten more? I don't know. I mean, that's the $1 million question.
Could have gotten less.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. But I wouldn't have given him a max contract. There were enough concerns, not just personality-wise, but injury-wise, that I understood why they traded him. So I agree that the media sometimes can be very unfair with that specific example. But here's my problem. despite all that, like you make valid points.
Mm-hmm.
The franchise has mostly sucked.
Yep.
For 20 years. Okay, you're right. I won't forget 13 because it drove me nuts. They were too good.
Yeah.
Mostly a pathetic franchise for 20 years. Why the anger at like the media more than the organization? Instead of going after anything that may maybe seem unfair, the anger should mostly be at the fact that we've been bad for a long time. And that's the thing that always boggles my mind because I see this like, let's go kill Isola and Bondi. They're out to kill the Knicks. Maybe sometimes they are, but the Knicks are terrible.
Yeah, well, here's my answer for that: is that the Knicks right now are doing the right thing. Like they're building this the right way. When they didn't get the guys, they wanted Durant. I know they can act like they didn't, but I didn't. But they wanted him. When they didn't get the free agents, they didn't go and sign Tobias Harris. They didn't go to the tier 2 guys and overpay for them like they did in 2010.
Who's saying they should have?
What?
Who is saying they should have?
Well, just in general, because people are saying they're implying it. They're like the Knicks couldn't even sign anybody in their free agency whenever the offseason was two of them ago. Like we don't even know.
You're nitpicking.
So, I'm not nitpicking because
you are because I gave you valid criticisms that are totally fair where people have been unfair to the Knicks. Yeah. This isn't one of them. Who is saying they should have signed Tobias Harris?
Nobody is saying that in general, but if you put on the TV, you put on other radio stations, not your show. That's why I respect you. You put on other stations and they are saying like the Knicks couldn't even sign anybody in the offseason. They didn't even want, then there's stories that come out. The Knicks weren't interested in Jimmy Butler. Like, look how stupid they are, and that's the stuff that drives me crazy where it's like the Knicks learn. If you look at it holistically in the last 20 years, the Knicks, the last time they were in position to sign free agents was 2010. They didn't get LeBron. They didn't get Dirk. They didn't get Wade. They didn't get Bosh. They didn't get Joe Johnson. They didn't get any of those guys. But what they did, they're like, oh my God, we got to get somebody. Let's trade David Lee and let's sign Amari Stoudemire. And that was the stupidest thing they did because then all of a sudden, now you have Amari Stoudemire, then you waste the amnesty. We know the story. But like they learned from that. They said, oh crap, let's not do this. Let's punt on the offseason. Let's take some one-year guys. Let's see if we can piece it together. Let's see what we can do. And let's keep it. Let's keep building. Let's keep stacking picks, which they're doing. So they're doing the right thing if you look at it holistically. And that's why it drives me crazy. If you talk to me, 10, 15 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, the Knicks are so stupid. Yeah, I know Dolan. Yeah, I get it. But like, if you look at it holistically, they have been doing the things the right way. And that's why it drives me crazy. And maybe other fans as well.
I think that most, and look, the media isn't one person, we say the media says that the media is like a million different opinions and views. I think most people agree that the Knicks are doing it the right way. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to continue to do it the right way. You've even shown your own skepticism to it.
Yep.
But I think that some of the times where you people, as Knicks fans, criticize the media coverage is a little like you're almost looking to complain about something. Sometimes you're right. Like I called it out too. I just gave you the example about Porzingis. But I think this is an example of you're looking to be kind of to complain about something. Most people agree that the Knicks are doing it the right way. Now, let's see them continue to do it the right way. And more importantly, let's see them pick the right players. You could do things the right way for 20 years. If you don't find the right players, if you don't develop the right players, then the hell does it mean? You're going to lose. It's not going to change anything.
There's a weird dynamic with Knicks fans, and I'll use other teams in the area. Like when the Mets are a disaster and make bad moves, it's fun to do it. When the Jets do it, it's fun to do it. But there's a defense mechanism with Knicks fans when it's the same criticism. That is the part I can't figure out. What is the difference? Why is it we can make fun of the Mets and the Jets and it's cool and this is what we do? But the second it's about the Knicks, it's like so defensive. And I that's the part I have been trying to crack forever and I cannot.
Well, that's what I was just saying. Like, because the Knicks right now are doing things the right way. The Jets, I would defend the Jets when they were, I'm a diehard Jets, Knicks, and Mets fan. Thanks, Dad. And so, the Knicks, they're like I said, they're doing things the right way. The Jets, like right now, I want them to get rid of Adam Gase. I want them to get rid of, just like blow the whole thing up. But so I welcome all the criticism. Like, yeah, let's make fun of them. Let's get the owner to change it. So it's like that. That's I don't know. I'm re-explaining myself. You guys get it. What I'm saying. I don't know if you do, but I'm beating myself.
I think you're using right now as an example, but I think in general, the Segley is right that over the years, we've crushed the Wilpons, we've crushed the Dolans. Probably the two ownership groups we've crushed the most. The Johnsons have been more recent. Mm-hmm. And very rarely, if ever, has anyone ever called up to attempt to defend the Wilpons. We get more people defending Dolan, and the Wilpons actually owned a team that 5 years ago got to the World Series.
Yeah.
And yet, and I'm not sure if there's a Ranger dynamic to it. There could be that there are Knicks fans who are Ranger fans who say, hey, look at my hockey team. We've done it the right way. And they have. It's almost amazing that they're owned by the same guy. So maybe that's a part of it, or maybe it's just this thing that Knicks fans have to be just overly defensive. I'm not sure, but Bisegli does bring up a good point that there seems to be more, Knicks fans being defensive than you get with the Jets and the Mets.
Yeah, and I think it's a prideful thing where it's the Knicks fan we're like the king of the only team in town, where this is the one team where you go to holidays and you can all come together as cousins. You're all the same fan of the same team. And
not anymore, baby.
Not anymore.
It's all right.
Not in Brooklyn.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right,
Sorry.
and we'll wrap it up here. Alex, read up the poll question you got, and what's on the menu today.
All right. So Knicks fans, should your New York Knicks trade up to go get LaMelo Ball? Yes or no? What do you think, Evan, was the answer, and what do you think it should be?
Well, can I have an issue with your question?
That's very general. I know.
Well, what am I giving up? Am I just
that's
moving
part of
up and they're giving it to me? Like what's happening? How am I moving up?
I don't know. Answer the question.
If it's a reasonable price, then yeah, I'd move up. I mean, look, it's very tough I'm trying my best to form opinions on these guys, especially ones that didn't play in the United States in college. Like, you can watch as many YouTube videos as you can. You can read as many scouting reports as you can, and it ain't easy. So I guess I'll phrase it this way. If they identify LaMelo Ball as the guy they want, then I think as long as the price is reasonable, I'd be interested in trading up. I don't think it's going to be an unreasonable price, though. It doesn't feel like the cost of moving up is going to be the way it would have been in years past. So the answer is a soft yes. It's a soft yes. Depends on the price.
All right. And Mike, what do you think?
I agree with Evan. I'll just go with that. That sounded good. Very smart.
Well, the answer was no. We had almost 700 votes. It was a lot. So we had no 52.5%. So it was close.
It's close.
It was pretty close. So we got a couple of Knicks fan responses. So we have Damon718 at Sakeem13. He goes, why? Then we have Rave Mom. We have at Tyrannosaurus Dan. He goes, anyone who voted no is cracked. Okay. So we have my guy Alex Terranova. He goes, and bring the ball circles to the Garden? Hell no. Which I kind of agree with. It's kind of like,
you're really that's the problem.
It's not a problem, but it's just, if we got the number 1 pick in the draft, the number 2 pick, and he fell, then I'd be like, all right, whatever, take him. But like, to trade, I don't know. It's just something that just bothers me. He better be good, because it'd be like a lot more pressure on him. Then we have at Mr. Record. He goes, hell no. Then we have at ARAM822. Yes, only if it doesn't cost us Mitch in the process. Knicks fans.
Well, yeah. That's kind of what I just said. Like, I'm not giving Mitchell Robinson a move up.
Right. We're not giving up Mitchell Robinson, RJ Barrett, any of our own picks. No chance. And even that Dallas pick next year, that's looking kind of nice now that Porzingis is getting that knee surgery. They're only the 7th seed this year, and who knows what they're going to be next year in the West. So then we have at Zacharoo 10. I'll give Julius Randle, Peyton, and pick 27. Anything better, I don't really care. So I don't know if that's going to get it done.
He's giving up real value with Julius Randle and Elfrid Payton. Boy,
maybe we'll throw DSJ in the trade too. Maybe that'll get it done. And then the last one we have at Glenn K78. He goes, it's troubling to see how high the yes vote is, and I agree with him. I don't want to. I'm like against trading draft picks. Like, I just don't want to do any, and just keep stacking picks. This is not the time to make the big deals, I know, contradicting myself. Westbrook, I could be talking to it if it's the right deal, but like, I don't know. There's something about him that I don't know. I can't put my finger on it.
He's in his 30s and he relies on athleticism.
He does. He can have a back end like Tyson Chandler.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
You're right.
You're right.
He's 32 and he relies on athleticism, and he's not a great 3-point shooter.
And I can tell you, from 32 to 37, I feel a huge decline for me personally. I'm not the same guy I was, so I can imagine Russ is going to go through the same thing.
But Bisegli, what'd be cool? Cool? The Durant-Westbrook rivalry in New York.
Ooh, yeah. That is a good angle. That would be cool. Get the cupcakes out on that one.
Well, we got to make sure Kyrie is okay to practice. He Steve Nash, he gives Steve Nash permission to practice, and it'll be okay. You know what I mean? We have to make sure that that's all good. We have to make sure he's permission. I was seeing actually real quick, Dinwiddie was on ESPN yesterday on that show, The Jump. And they were like, oh, so how do you like Steve Nash? He's like, well, this, that, and he goes in the whole, the boring athlete, comments, and then he goes, and Kyrie and Durant like him a lot, and it's just like, dude, like they run the whole franchise. Like,
you know what though?
It's just every team
does.
Yeah.
We'd be fair about something.
Yeah.
Every superstar runs their franchise. They just may not admit it.
Yeah, but admitting it, it's kind of it kind of makes it bad for Steve Nash. Hasn't even walked through the door yet without a mask, and he can't even run a practice without like running it through Kyrie. Like that's bad, man. That's not a good way to start.
Did LeBron James fire David Blatt essentially and hire Ty Lue?
He did. But is Kyrie and Durant, is that going to be LeBron James? They're both coming off injury. Durant and LeBron James is in the finals every year.
I'm not comparing them to the greatness of LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
I'm merely saying stars run the show.
Run the league.
They do. And
you know what?
Saying it is different. Saying it is a little different.
And it happens in the NFL because J.J. Watt got Bill O'Brien fired. So see, it's not just the NBA.
Yeah, only the Jets choose the coach over the players. That's it. Only the Jets. That's it. That's why they are where they are. That's it.
All right. Well, perfect way to end it. Evan, thank you for coming on the Bad Weather Fans podcast, talking a little Nets, talking a little Knicks, getting into the rivalry. And I cannot wait to see the Nets play this year. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, fellas.
Have a good one.